Is that when we're going live?
The meeting is now live.
Thanks, Trudy. Can I welcome everybody to this Combined Authority meeting? And if anybody is watching and I occasionally look to my left, it's because I have a small screen in front of me and a larger screen to my left, and I can see better with the larger screen. So if I can just let everybody know that those people who are reviewing remotely, this meeting will be broadcast live to the Combined Authority website, and it will be available for subsequent viewing. So those people who are part of this are accepting that it can be used for those purposes. Can members and officers ensure that when you wish to speak, you indicate so in the chat box or by raising your hand, and please don't forget to unmute your microphone. You would think that we're all used to this by now, but believe me, I've been on calls recently where people have been 2 minutes into something and realised that they haven't unmuted. And finally, can everyone make certain that, as usual, you switch your phones onto silent, please? As part of the protocol to this, I have to go through some formalities. So can I ask each of the voting members to confirm that they are present? So is Councillor Polhill present?
Present, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Morgan?
Present, Chair.
Councillor Baines?
I'm here, Chair.
Councillor Maher?
Yes, Chair, I'm here.
Thanks, Ian. Now, we haven't got a representative from Wirral at this moment in time, and that's because they're awaiting their meeting on the 28th before they appoint their new leader of Wirral Council. So we'll wait for that, and then that person obviously will be a full member of the Combined Authority. We do have some non-voting members, so we have Councillor Robinson.
Good afternoon, all present.
And Mr. Asif Hamid.
Present, Chair.
Thank you. And our PCC is with us, Jane Kennedy. Or maybe not. Okay, we'll move on to item 1, which is apologies for absence. Trudy, are there any registered apologies?
Thank you, Chair. I've received apologies from Mayor Anderson, Councillor Leach and Councillor Hackett at Wirral Council, and Councillor Bowden, leader of Warrington Council. However, Councillor Cathy Mitchell is attending in his absence.
Welcome, Cathy, and hopefully when we do get back together, you'll be able to enjoy the delights of a very sunny and bright Liverpool at the moment. Item 2 is declarations of interest, and that's an opportunity for members, obviously, to put forward any declarations. Item 3 are the minutes of the previous meeting held on the 31st of July. Are they agreed? And what we'll do is we'll take a silence for ascension. Okay, they are agreed. Item 4 is an update from myself as the Metro Mayor, and I'm sure that as members and even the viewing public will be aware that on Friday, the 18th of September, Merseyside and Halton, along with a number of surrounding areas, were placed under local restrictions as a result of rising COVID cases. And I know that many people have been getting used to the freedoms, thankfully, that we had once lockdown was eased. But these new measures are needed, and that's why we're being as the leadership of the city region supportive of the government so that we can slow down the spread of the disease. And how long the restrictions last for will depend on the choices that we all make. So everybody needs to do their bit, and it's clear from those rising cases that the virus is going to be with us for some considerable time. And our region is known for being kind, friendly and very community spirited, and we know that we need to stick together in these hard times. And so hopefully those principles will make sure that we look after each other, after one another, and we can all play our little bit. Those protections that we saw really starting to have an impact, such as washing your hands, wearing a face covering in public, and social distancing, they're probably as important now as they've ever been during this horrible period for us all. So we would appeal again as the 6 leaders and myself across the city region to stick to the new rules. Please be responsible and keep yourself and others safe. And just on that theme, myself and the Mayor of Liverpool wrote to all those new and returning students to the city, extending a very warm welcome, of course, to the place that we call home. And the letter contains some vital messaging surrounding COVID safety, and we just want to ensure that every single person who visits us or who's staying with us for an extended period can be as safe as they can possibly be. And we want people to remember their time in the city of Liverpool or in the city region with fond memories, and not memories perhaps of trying to fight off the conditions caused by COVID. So we also have highlighted the excellent work done by Project Campus Shield, which we know Liverpool University and John Moores, in conjunction with Liverpool City Council, have been doing to ensure that students have access to proper testing facilities in Liverpool, not afforded unfortunately to other areas because of some of the issues nationally. And I'm sure that despite the current situation, everybody who's come here to study will enjoy their time in a fantastic city region. And please, if there are people watching it, play your part and we'll come out of this much more quickly. A couple of days ago, I had a visit from Thomas Oppermann. Herr Oppermann is the Vice President of the Bundestag, and Germany obviously is a key export market for us now. That's worth about £612 million a year, but it could well be an important market for us in a post-Brexit world as well. We obviously want to strengthen our links and our international profile, and so that sort of meeting hopefully will spawn some tangible results. One of them will hopefully be an exchange visit between different people in our city region and people across Germany, and those cultural links again will go a long way to forging relationships that will take us forward. Hopefully some of those people will become entrepreneurs and businesses and businessmen and women in the future at a senior level, and they again hopefully will remember their fantastic time here. And we do have expanding trade areas across the city region, sectors including the low carbon economy, infection disease control, materials chemistry. There's a whole host of them, and certainly high performance computing and engineering. So it was a very positive meeting, and we're going to keep in close contact with the vice presidents in the future. And again, a few months ago probably, colleagues might remember that myself and Andy Burnham and fantastic Francis O'Grady all had a joint press conference, and launched something called Time Out to Help Out, which was a campaign urging the government to provide financial support for people who have been told to self-isolate as part of the track and trace programme. And after weeks of lobbying the government, they've now come forward with proposals for a £500 payment for those on low incomes who need to self-isolate. And it goes some way to address some of the issues that we raised, but not all of the way to address all of the issues. And it still leaves millions of people who will face the prospect of financial loss as a result of self-isolation. And what we're saying is, if we expect people to carry out their civic duty to quarantine or self-isolate, they should be compensated for that time, so that we hopefully can get as many people who have been in contact with somebody who's tested positive for COVID, who will take the time out. So hence the time out to help out. And just on Francis O'Grady and the TUC, some exciting news in regard to a project that Lynn Collins has headed up for us, and she's done an absolutely brilliant job while she's been here on secondment, and unfortunately goes back to a substantive post on the 1st of October, and she'll be very much missed. But she was behind the driving force really behind LCR Cares, and we've now passed the £2 million mark, and 400,000 people across the city region have benefited from that initiative. And it just shows you that when we all pull together, you really can get things done. So thanks to Lynn and all the officers who did sterling work in such a short space of time. With that said, item 5 is a review into the LEP, and this was carried out by the Overview and Scrutiny Committee into the Local Enterprise Partnership, and Councillor Tom Crone, who is the chair of, was the chair of Overview and Scrutiny, is going to present the findings of that review. So over to you, Councillor Crone.
Thank you, Chair, and good morning, everybody. And as far as I know, I am still the chair of the Oversight and Scrutiny Committee, unless something's changed without me being told. It could have happened. So it is my pleasure to present the findings of and the recommendations of the Overview and Scrutiny Committee's review of the LCR Local Enterprise Partnership. Members chose to undertake this review partly to develop a greater understanding of the work of the LCR Local Enterprise Partnership, and also to determine how it contributes towards economic development across Liverpool City region. During the course of the review, we heard evidence from Mark Basnet, Managing Director of the LCR LEP, Asif Hamid MBE, Chair of the LCR LEP Board, government representatives, a LEP network ambassador, 2 chief executives from constituent councils, and combined authority officers. The evidence gathered by the Task and Finish group has led to 19 recommendations, which broadly cover the themes of governance, business resilience, supporting climate change, skills, communication, and social. Before I finish, I'd particularly like to thank members of the Task and Finish review who played an active part in this review. Mark Basnet, Managing Director, and Tony Wade, Director of Finance from the LCR Local Enterprise Partnership, for their insight, and the various witnesses who gave up their time to share their views with us. In conclusion, I'm happy to present this report and its recommendations to the combined authority for your consideration, and look forward to your response.
Thank you, Councillor Crone. I wasn't casting any aspersions. I was just saying you were the chair at the time of the review that was carried out into the LEP. Yes, you are still very much the chair, and very welcome. Asif, did you want to make any comments to what Councillor Crone is presented?
Yes, I would, Chair. I'd just like to say it was a thorough exercise, and actually it was a highly enjoyable one. And I think myself and Councillor Crane are going to pick up further on this dialogue and just drive forward. But I welcome the Scrutiny Committee and the overview of the whole services. So I look forward to engaging further on this one as well.
Have any other members got any other questions or comments?
No one has indicated they wish to speak.
Okay, with that said then, can we agree the recommendations are set out on page 13 of the report? Take that as agreed. And can I also use the opportunity to thank the Chair and members of the Task and Finish group who took part in the review. Thanks very much, Councillor Crone.
Thank you, Chair.
Item 6 is our CSR submission, and that's if, of course, there is a CSR and some doubt about that, but it's a set of key asks to government from the city region, and I think it's been circulated already as a supplementary agenda, but Aileen will take us through the details of that report.
Thanks, Chair. We made our submission to the Treasury's comprehensive spending review yesterday. This sets the spending limits for all government departments, although it was initially intended to cover 3 financial years. Given the current circumstances, we believe it is more likely that this will end up being a 1-year spending review. Our submission responded to government spending review objectives around economic recovery, levelling up, becoming a scientific superpower, improving public outcomes, strengthening the UK's place in the world, and improving the management and delivery of our commitments. Our submission sets out the exciting opportunities that exist in the city region, including partnering with Unilever to be a home of National Packaging Innovation Centre, partnering with the Manufacturing Technology Centre to place the city region at the forefront of innovation for modular construction, as well as partnering with the Knowledge Quarter, University of Liverpool and the Liverpool School of Tropical Medicine to deliver a number of transformative projects in health innovation, and in response to the Black Lives Matter movement and expansion of the International Slavery Museum. Despite all of these existing opportunities, we cannot ignore the reality of the health and economic crisis we are facing and the huge strain this is putting on our economy and our residents' lives. So we have called on government for immediate funding for local authorities to fill the funding deficits they are facing, to enable them to continue to deliver critical services at a time when they are needed most. And we have asked for significant funding for employment support schemes so that we can help our residents get back into work quickly. Finally, we're also asking government to provide more devolved flexible funding so we can respond effectively to our city region's needs throughout recovery. Thanks, Chair.
Any questions on that for Aileen or anybody else?
No one has indicated they wish to speak.
Okay, as you can see, it's recommended that the Combined Authority note and endorse the submission provided by government. Can we agree the recommendations on page 35 of the report, please? Okay, I'll take that as also agreed. We are on to item 7, and this is the climate progress update, which Councillor Polhill will take us through.
Thanks, Chair. The purpose of the report is to update Combined Authority members on progress to address the climate emergency that was declared by the Combined Authority in 2019. The Climate Partnership announced by yourself, Mr Maher, at the ELGIN Environment Summit has now been fully established with their terms and reference included in the appendix to the report, and that's on page 47. The Climate Partnership are already making excellent progress in developing the Climate Action Plan for Liverpool City Region. The report proposes a set of key principles for the action plan and sets out a programme of work that balances stakeholder engagement with rapid action, including the formation of a wider stakeholder-based climate panel. The report recommends approval of the Community Environment Fund with a budget of £500,000. This fund was also announced at the Year of the Environment Summit and is intended to boost local environmental action and support the green recovery of the Liverpool City region. I move the recommendation shown on page 39 in the papers, with the caveat of the recommendation E that these funding awards are made in conjunction with the portfolio holder for low carbon and renewable energy. I move, Mr. Mayor.
Thanks, Rob. And I think the chair of the Climate Partnership, Gideon Benthoven, hopefully is also present.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor, unfortunately Gideon hasn't been able to join us, so he's not able to comment further on the partnership plan.
Okay then, well, subject to the amendment in E of those recommendations, which is consultation with the portfolio holder, can we agree the recommendations are set out on page 39? I'll take that as agreed. 8 is our SIF investment strategy and our SIF assurance framework, and Mark Bousfield is going to take us through that report.
Thank you, Chair. This is the paper presents an update to these two documents, which together represent two halves of the same coin. So the investment strategy is the document that faces out into our city region and guides sponsors and stakeholders on our processes, priorities and actions in managing the strategic investment fund. The changes from the last strategy include those to increase the speed of decision making, to offer much stronger sectoral guidance on how we'll act in different areas of economic development, and critically, following feedback from members and yourself, to sharpen the language around performance, and so to really introduce strongly this idea of use it or lose it that you've insisted on to drive performance across the city region. The other thing that you should note is that the plan points very strongly towards our approved recovery plan. So future devolved funding will be directly largely towards that agreed plan and the ambitious priorities laid out within it. Coming now to the assurance framework, this is the document that sets the standards of our work towards government and gives government the assurance that we can handle public money by requiring essentially that we follow the same procedures and processes that civil servants in London feel, plus of course good governance on top of that. And because we have that good governance and those standards taken from national standards, government should be confident that we are able to handle public money and to act in the best interest of our residents. So they're the changes presented.
Thanks, Mark. One of our aims is always to be an exemplar of good governance. Any questions for Mark?
No one has indicated they wish to speak.
Okay, can we agree the recommendations are set out on page 49 then, please? I'll take that as agreed. 9 is our SIF quarterly update, and again, it's Mark will take us through this.
Thank you, Chair. This is your regular update on SIF performance. And the first thing I'd like to draw your attention to is a list of regular change controls for existing SIF projects. Amongst those changes, we include Bootle Strand. So this is a project sponsored by Sefton Council for the improvement of the Bootle Strand shopping centre and surrounding area. We approved almost £1 million of funding for strategic acquisitions just before Christmas, and we now propose to add 650,000 to allow the council to push on with demolitions and the preparation of meanwhile uses to help bring people back into Bootle Strand and prepare for a vibrant future. Secondly, I draw your attention to a regular update on SIF performance. The principal challenge for all stakeholders across the city region is to maintain disbursement, so investment progress, despite the pandemic challenges. You can see as an example that Q1 figures for the local growth funds were just above 50% of the forecast trend pre-COVID and leave us some 56 million to disburse by March 2021. And this is the challenge that we all together, whether officers or politicians, need to take on. And I think Councillor Grauke will add her comments following that.
Yeah, please, Kate.
Chair, I welcome this report on an update of ESIF performance. It's clearly been a very challenging period, so it's good to see examples of projects that are progressing despite the pandemic, as well as clear evidence of joint working across the city region. Nevertheless, echoing Mark, I must highlight the vital importance of all projects proceeding where they can and absorbing their approved funds. We know that our performance today makes a difference to the government's willingness to allocate funds to our region tomorrow, so the pressure's on all of us to deliver these projects. I know that teams in all our councils and partners are working hard to do just that for the benefit of all our residents across the city region. Thank you.
Yeah, it's a fantastic addition. Thanks for that. You bang on about, obviously, the government are watching us. Their watchword at the moment is acceleration, and we need to respond to that challenge ourselves in the Liverpool City region. Any further comments?
Councillor Maher's indicated he wishes to speak.
Councillor Baines.
Maher, sorry, Maher. Councillor Ian Maher.
Ian.
Thanks, Steve. Just on the Strand, and as you'll know, the council owns most of the new Strand, but there were two premises that we needed to acquire to give us control and access to the canal side, which will be an important part of our repurposing and reprofiling of the shopping centre, which in itself is the heart of Bootle Town Centre and a really important centre for us. This funding enables us to continue that process and allow us to demolish the two premises mentioned, the former Crown Post Office and the van rental premises, to give us that access to the canal side, which, without repeating myself too much, is a really important part of our vision for the renewal of the New Strand Shopping Centre. So yeah, we'll be doing this post haste. I think I've said enough now, Chair.
Yeah, really ambitious and transformational for the Bootle area, and of course will be delivered in double quick time. We're talking about within weeks rather than within years that we'll see works progressing. So that's fantastic because it fits into the government's acceleration agenda. Can we agree the recommendations are set out on page 165 of the report, please? It's agreed. Okay. 10 then is the Q1 financial performance from 2020 to 2021, and John Fogarty will take us through this report.
Thank you. So this report, members, deals with the Q1 financial performance of the combined authority. As we've referenced earlier, Q1 coincided with the first wave of the COVID pandemic, and the resultant contraction in travel and economic activity has had an impact on that budget, particularly in that quarter, particularly for the Mersey tunnels and Mersey ferries, but also includes risks around bus and rail that should be obvious. These were captured in our joint submission to government in July alongside all the local authorities in the city region, and despite positive responses, we're yet to receive the emergency package of funding referred to earlier by yourself, Mayor, and also by Dr. Aileen Jones just minutes ago. Once we receive greater detail of this, we will bring a revised budget to the combined authority in due course. That's all I propose to say around the report, but I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Yeah, difficult period for everybody. Are there any questions for John?
No one has indicated they wish to speak.
Okay, with that said then, can we agree the recommendations as set out on page 177 of the report, please? That's agreed. 11 is about household and to work, and hopefully again people will know about this programme now, because it genuinely is identified as being something of an exemplar and how you can do things differently. And one of the architects of this was Councillor Maher, who's going to take us through shortly the quickly through the report into the extension of the contracts.
Thanks, Steve. Households into Work, yes, it's one of our initiatives that has been really successful. And what it does is what it says on the tin, really. That it supports, enables, gives advice and generally helps those households where employment has been difficult for whatever reason to access. And that support has been successful and it's really important. What the report is doing here, it's seeking approval to extend the fixed term contracts of staff till June 21, underwritten by ESIF funds. The contracts, the employment contracts currently run until December 20. So if we don't do something, we're going to lose that skill and risk giving notices to people just at Christmas time. The funding for the posts, Chair, until June 22 is expected to be confirmed within months from ESIF and ESIF. So it enables us to elongate and make sure that the people stay in post, and that really important service continues until the funding is agreed, which we're absolutely certain it will be. So I just commend the report, Chair.
Thanks, Ian. You're right. It's a bridge, isn't it, between what we have now and the promise that we will get an extension in the future, but we don't want to lose that fantastic skilled team that we have built up over the last few years. Any questions for Ian or the team?
No one's indicated they wish to speak.
Okay, can we agree the recommendations are set out on page 189 of the report, please? Okay, great. Now we're on to 3 items of acceptance of grant, and we will do them individually, but they basically are, do we want some money from certain sources? So the first one, item 12, is the acceptance of grant funding for the growth platform. Are there any specifics, any comments on this that anybody wants to flag up?
No one's indicated, Chair.
Okay, if there aren't any questions on it, can we therefore just simply agree the recommendations as set out on page 195 of the report, please? That's agreed. 13 is the acceptance of additional EU grants and extensions of existing ESIF projects. Again, this is like ways to work and some of the place marks in for inward investment, and it's saying to us, do we want to accept some funding? Are there any questions on any of that?
No one's indicated they wish to speak.
Okay, therefore can we agree the recommendations are set out on page 201 of the report? That's been accepted. 14 is again in a similar vein, the acceptance of European social funds, and again we are the accountable body for the provision of the positive inclusion programme and the integrated business support programme, and we're being asked, will we agree to the recommendations to accept some European funding? Is that agreed? Okay, that's agreed. 14. 15 is a report which seeks approval to appoint ELGIN to provide a virtual management centre for both the CA and constituent local authorities. Councillor Robinson is going to take us through item 15.
Yeah, thanks very much, Chair. Obviously, ELGIN is a software and systems provider that will provide us with a virtual management centre for the whole of the key route network for all of our 6 constituent districts to manage their parts of the key route network. Effectively, it's an enhanced package of software that will give us the ability to manage the network both in real time, but also proactively manage some of the things that we're planning to do across the highway network. network. Page 216 goes into lots of detail of some of the kind of specific things that the ELGIN software and system will give us. Some of the things I would pick out, for example, is not just the real-time monitoring of the network that will allow district highway officers the ability to manage things as they're happening, but also it will have the ability for that information about how the road network is functioning to be beamed directly into the sat-navs of people driving around the city region. Equally, that information will also be able to be shared with all of our bus operators, allowing them to be able to kind of manage the bus network in real time according to how the road network is functioning. Also as well, there's a lot of detailed data that the system will allow us to continue to capture, so we can plan things like roadworks and other kind of highway enhancements based upon the impact that it will have on traffic flows across the network. And equally, there's a great opportunity to integrate some of this highway information in real time with some of the other intelligence systems, such as the CCTV systems that all of our 6 districts have across the city region. I think this is a fantastic example of the city region working together as 6 districts, because all of our districts are using ELGIN software previously, so the ability to transition into using this bespoke package should be pretty much straight away. And equally, this is a great example of cost effectiveness, because by us as a combined authority procuring this, it is much more cost effective and cheaper than individual districts buying it on a one-by-one package. So strongly commend the report to the combined authority.
Thanks, Councillor Robinson. Excellent. Any questions for Liam?
No one's indicated they wish to speak.
Okay, can we therefore agree the recommendations as set out in item 2 on page 215 of the report, please? Okay, that's agreed. 16 is various appointments and governance issues that just needed to be tidied up, and Jill Cool, who's our monitoring officer, is going to take us through this report.
Thank you, Mayor. The report seeks to do a number of things in terms of appointments. It seeks to continue some appointments to Mersey Travel, which is particularly important during this COVID period to ensure that there is resilience. It seeks to appoint the Combined Authority Returning Officer and Deputy for the election in May 2021, which is anticipated to take place. It also seeks delegated authority for myself to accept nominations from other councils due to a number of vacancies that have arisen on the Overview and Scrutiny Committee from Sefton, St Helens and Liverpool City Council. I've recently been advised that we can welcome Councillor Karen Waterfield from Sefton onto the Overview and Scrutiny Committee, and we look forward to working with her. We await nominations from the other councils. And finally, it provides an update of decisions that have been taken using emergency powers during COVID by the Chief Executive. Thank you very much, Mr Mayor.
Any questions for the monitoring officer?
No one has indicated they wish to speak.
Okay, can we agree the recommendations on page 221? That's agreed. 17, Trudy.
We haven't received any public questions.
And 18, Trudy.
Again, we haven't received any petitions or statements.
Okay, 19 is the minutes of the Overview and Scrutiny Committee from the 22nd of July 2020. Can we agree those? They're agreed. Okay, that's the end of the formal part. The next meeting of the Combined Authority will take place on the 6th of November 2020 at 1 p.m. Thank you for your attendance, and hopefully see you all in November. Stay safe.